Well, it was technically impressive. The Midnight Sky is a new Netflix original movie directed by George Clooney, starring George Clooney, based on a novel Good Morning Midnight. Also stars Felicity Jones, Kyle Chandler, Tiffany Boone, as well as many others, and is set in a not-too-distant future next Sunday AD, actually in 2049. Well, it's kind of scary to think, though, in less than 30 years, we're going to be at 2049, so what does the future hold for us? Well, if it's anything like this one, guess what? The future is fucked on Earth. We're either going to be in underground temporary bunkers that aren't going to last, we're going to be dead, or in the case of Augustine Lofthouse, we're going to be in remote labs studying and trying to figure out why space missions taking place, obviously, in space aren't going all that well. But why would Augustine Lofthouse, by the way, played by George Clooney, why would he care about these space missions? What does it matter to him? Well, in the form of flashbacks, one of many flashbacks that we get, especially in the first 30 to 40 minutes of this, we find out that a young Augustine, played by Ethan Peck, he is a very, very smart, learned, brilliant scientist who discovers a possible second planet that can inhabit human life called K-23. And then he meets a young woman named Jean, and they fall in love, and then we find out later that things don't always work out all that well because she wanted kids, he didn't, and basically that's told in more flashbacks. We get a lot of flashbacks in this movie, and I want to say, firstly, this reminded me a lot of Interstellar. Like Interstellar, there was a very impressive cast and a very good director, and I love George Clooney. I love Felicity Jones. Kyle Chandler's also very good. There's a very good cast here. And the idea behind it actually could be pretty damn good. But here's the thing. Interstellar was either a film that you loved or hated. I hated Interstellar. I hated everything about it. I didn't think it was any good. And I love the cat. I love Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Christopher Nolan's a terrific director. And I fucking hate it. It was one of the worst movies that I saw that decade, at least as far as big budget movies. Obviously, the cheap, no budget films would, be above that. But as far as just this big, grandiose thing, I fucking hated Interstellar. I didn't find anything interesting about the characters. I didn't find out there were really any characters I gave a shit about one bit. And in The Midnight Sky, I couldn't stand anybody. It actually reminded me also of Life without the alien life form, where it was just a bunch of stupid people making stupid decisions and a bunch of just basic characters that really didn't have a lot of depth. Now, I do want to say, again, if you liked Interstellar, you may like this. But honestly, watching this, it was painful. And I got what they were trying to do. They were trying to prove that, hey, it was a simple story. Your actions earlier in your life could have consequences. If you don't choose love and choose your work, that could come back to bite you. And then you could realize your work means a lot, but you weren't able to, get what you needed out of life because you were so dedicated to your work. Or in the case of some people on this space ship called Ether, even though there was an A in the beginning, so I kept calling it Aether. There's the character Sully, Felicity Jones, and various others that are on there. And she's pregnant. And, of course, there's only one of 3 guys that are on there, and it's pretty obvious who got her pregnant. The guy that played Selma, that was in Selma, that played Martin Luther King Jr., not even going to try to pronounce the guy's name because he got a difficult last name, but he is a very good actor. The cast, it's frustrating actually looking at this and looking at all the technical feats. Very, very impressive. When it's on the ground in the Arctic Circle and George Clooney has to venture out in it, that's some good attempts at harrowing stuff, but at least it's grounded, yes, because it's on Earth. The space stuff just feels very typical. There isn't a whole lot of depth to it. It feels it just feels like it's taking place in a vacuum. Yes, pun very much intended. It just doesn't have a lot of weight to it. Again, because it's space, but also because it's not interesting. And watching it, it frustrated me because I kept getting Interstellar flashbacks, and I was like, okay, this has to be better than Interstellar. And it's really fucking not. And that's the big problem I have with it. And then it tries to have some kind of twist that everybody could see coming from about 10,000 million light years away. And I know that's not how math works, but it was fucking frustrating because anybody with a goddamn lick of sense would have been able to see the twist coming. But I'll talk about the twist here in a little bit. But overall, this movie was boring. It was very, very boring. I didn't care about any of the characters. I didn't want anything to happen to any of them necessarily because they were just a bunch of cardboard cutouts. People would make decisions and be like, okay, yeah, do that. I don't give a shit what happens to you. And it just seemed like it was very disjointed. The stuff on the ground was okay. The stuff in space, didn't really gel. It didn't gel together at all, and just a lot of it was like, okay, these characters are there. That's just it. They're just there and they're doing this stuff, and some of the special effects are cool. And this was a very disappointing effort from George Clooney as a director. And I've never read the novel. I don't know how the novel is. If the novel's good, cool. Maybe I'll check it out sometime. But by God, this movie is so fucking boring and so fucking frustrating. But now I'm going to get into spoilers here in a little bit. And the spoilers won't take too goddamn long, so don't fucking worry. But anyway, spoilers now. So yeah, spoilers, leave quick if you don't want to find out about any of these spoilers. So, we get more and more flashbacks, and we get the Ether crew. It seemed like everybody was on Ether, by the way, and they just woke up from an Ether-induced, slumber. And the crew is basically, it's a hodgepodge of, cardboard cutout characters. And Sully seems like the only one that's kind of fleshed out. And, of course, then at one point, being that she's pregnant, she got knocked up in space. And then their ship gets knocked off course. And meanwhile, Augustine and this young girl, Iris, he finds in his space, or in this lab's like, oh no, what are you doing here? I really didn't want kids, but I gotta protect you. I feel this compulsion to protect you. They make their way to this Lake Haven weather station in the mountains in the Arctic, and basically find a way to, they get there. It's kind of ridiculous how they manage to get there and not die from hypothermia and stuff like that. But they managed to make it, and then he sends out a signal. He's trying to warn everybody, hey, don't come back to Earth. Don't do this. Don't do this. It's going to be bad. It's kind of like the end of the Cloverfield Paradox. Except I think the end of the Cloverfield Paradox was actually better than this. But anyway, everybody gets a bit of a backstory. Not much of a backstory. And then, okay, we find out he didn't want kids. His woman did. And she leaves. And it turns out took a daughter with him. Okay, wait a second. So suddenly he's seeing a girl that he didn't see in his lab before. Maybe he's hallucinating. Maybe these medical treatments aren't working out all that well. Maybe he's drinking a lot. Maybe the movie ran out of ideas and said, shit, we need to throw some kind of curveball in here. So, basically, he ends up finally contacting the space station. They get pelted with meteors. They have to fix a whole bunch of their communications to talk to Augustine again. And one of the girls, Maya, she gets taken out because meteors decide to pelt her because they're like, well, shit, we need to kill somebody off in this, so let's do that. So they kill her off, and then one guy that has family back there decides to go down to his family. Even though Earth is uninhabitable, basically he's going to die. Him and another crew member that lost his daughter is going to take Maya down there because she reminds him of her daughter. He reminds him of his daughter, basically, is what I'm trying to say, because I'm getting so flummoxed here. And basically, that just leaves Sully and her man, and she's communicating with Augustine. So him and this girl make it there, and then the girl somehow miraculously vanishes. And Augustine's talking to this woman, and she was there on K-23, and she loved his work. He inspired her to get into the space program. Her name is Iris, the name of the girl. He was hallucinating her. Jean was the mother. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to do some frequency type shit. Or do some Interstellar type shit. It's fucking irritating. It's fucking annoying. And I can't believe I hated this movie that much because I shouldn't have. I should have at least tolerated it, and I just fucking couldn't. It was one of the worst twists because it was so fucking obvious. Of course that was the girl. And then he realizes, oh no, I wasted my life with my research. I should be up there, but I decided to stay down here. And this girl's up there. No, save yourself. Go with your man to K-23 and start a new life. Repopulate the Earth. Everybody's going to be inbred. Yeah, we can screw up that planet just like we did Earth. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then it ends with the crew, with her and her guy basically just typing up stuff and everything and doing a whole bunch of work. It's like Overdraw at the Memory Bank. Only I think I like the characters in that a little bit better than this. You can't make a movie like this with characters and expect us to care if you don't flesh them out and actually give them a good enough backstory. When you give them just a basic backstory, it's not going to matter. And the Interstellar comparisons are very goddamn accurate. So again, you like the Interstellar, you'll like this. I didn't, and I hate it. Agree, disagree what I said? And by the way, F. It gets a fucking F. It's one of the worst movies I've seen this year, and I feel bad saying that. So, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.